Guilty Gear Strive.
What the fuck? So, while this loads, I might as well get this out of the way since connecting to server prompts takes way too long. Guilty Gear is really damn good as a series. A series that is going now, I think, 21 years strong, probably 22, and one of the works of Arc System Works. Alongside BlazBlue, this series of fighting games prides itself currently on really good 2.5D visuals, deep and extensive potential with its fighting game mechanics, and an absolutely banging soundtrack with a story and lore so odd, sometimes confusing, and so spread out across multiple medias. Only Metal Gear could rival it. In short, it's actually really good stuff. My introduction to the series was Exiled Rev 2, and really an introduction to technical fighters in general, thanks to a friend wanting to play it with me.
What have I got myself into?
And he proceeded to whoop my ass. But the game entranced me with its visuals, its soundtrack, and how I had no idea what this meant. But I began to understand it the tiniest bit, and after that I bought the game, I practiced, and after much trial and error, I think I got it. You know, for a starting point into these types of games, and I'm not familiar with fighting games that much, I mean I struggled pretty badly. Like, who did I pick? A safe bet? And a balance like Soul, Kai, Mei, Elfelt? No, who'd want to play all of those when you have this one character? The saving grace in all good games, the mechanic that keeps the entertainment coming, the ability that expands the player's options tenfold, the cornerstone of excellent traversal, the necessity for all video games to have. And knowing this, I chose Baiken. Obviously. Who the fuck? Who else would I pick? A one-handed samurai with a grappling hook. See, now that is how you get me interested. Guilty Gear has such a diverse cast of characters with even their own backstories, abilities, quirks that all come together into this huge melting pot of distinct personalities without making it feel like they're all from different games. But here's kind of the problem with Guilty Gear for me. I picked Baiken, she looks cool as hell, I'm not choosing her for obvious reasons, a newcomer would choose her, but then I start to play Baiken, and then it kinda just falls apart, really. It just kind of falls apart. For newcomers, Guilty Gear is some tough shit. Like, similar to Devil May Cry, when a newcomer came into that game, say for Devil May Cry 3, they were absolutely tossed around. Like, it was very uncompromising to newcomers. And in the world of fighting games, the ridiculously high skill ceiling can scare off a lot of people from even touching, and even more so in this case, even actually knowing about this series, despite the incredibly radical experience it provides. So, after some years, a new Guilty Gear was announced under the name of Guilty Gear Strive, and it looked spectacular. New visuals, new content, new systems, and a new mechanic. It looked really good. One of the biggest mechanics visible, at least from the stuff they showed, was a wall break. Anyone who doesn't play fighting games and is just not really familiar but has been forced by their friend to play fighting games with them knows this experience. Getting backed into a corner and getting utterly embarrassed by your opponent who uses an immovable object to rack up a combo and juggle you into defeat. It's basically abuse that nobody wants to admit. Strive, doing that same thing would cause the parameters to break, sending a character flying to a new part of the area. Not just across the stage, a new stage in the area, and why nobody has done this before in this genre is beyond me. It looked really good, visually and for design, at first, and I'll get to that in a bit. The character roster was a good bit smaller than Exard. Bit disappointing, but this being a new game and all, new visuals, new character designs, I can kind of forgive it as long as they add more characters in the future, which they are doing in July, pretty soon after the game launched, so I'm pretty hopeful. And also, smell of the game's theme launched alongside this trailer, and it was fantastic. Just fantastic, really. It was such a roller coaster of a song. It went from hard to much harder to a little bit more somber, did a little Bohemian Rhapsody Queen thing. But overall, it was really good, and it raised the expectations of the game's music to, Guilty Gear level. I mean, Guilty Gear's always had good music, but this really made it look like you were going all out for this. And above all this, Arc System Works was putting emphasis on this new game that it would be just a tad more friendly to newcomers without compromising its mechanical depth and complexity that Guilty Gear's always been the king at, really. Now, the last game to do, all this newcomer friendly stuff was, to my knowledge, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. A game I did indulge in after Exard, like flipping sprites from previous Arc System Works games like BlazBlue, Under Night, Persona 4 Arena, and new sprites created for Ruby for some reason. And I hate to say that it won't be the last time that Ruby's mentioned in this video. Along with other series like Senran Kagura, Arcana Heart, Dachi, the best one, it served as a more casual fighting experience, and casual it is. I put more hours into this than Exard, and look, alright, if you're a complete beginner to fighting games, sorta like me, I do recommend this game. It's easy to pick up and play with its mechanics and abilities, you'll get the hang of pretty fast. I mean, a story that if you're not into any of these series, you're not gonna understand, but I mean, it's kinda decent. As well as a good soundtrack, I mean, you can't really forget that. And it's all around good stuff. It's a good game. However, they really should have cut the BlazBlue part of the title out, because it's not a BlazBlue game. Don't ask me how I know. It's really its own thing, really, but the skill ceiling doesn't feel that high. Like, lots of moves, you don't really need to do much, you just need to button mash. Noelle, especially. It doesn't feel like that deep of a game. I got bored after 25 hours. So, I was hoping that this new Guilty Gear would not follow in Crosstag's philosophies, let's say. Oh god, finally. So, after 2 betas exclusive to PlayStation, for some reason, Guilty Gear Strive is with us. Those betas were pretty concerningly good when it came down to them. The first beta didn't work on the first day, fucking R-code. Didn't have rematch options, and the second beta really restricted air movement, and the lobby system on both betas were awful, just like the final release. But, despite those issues, it's not the bad path. It's a Guilty Gear game, front and center. It's not completely shaken up, but it's still Guilty Gear. I should have said this beforehand, but warning, I am not a hardcore fighting game player. Take my opinions of what I'm about to say with an atom of salt.
Guilty Gear Strive.
So, at the title screen, we don't have any music. It's a good starting impression. After the Eon it took to get into the menu, for comparison, this was Exard. Like, seriously, shouldn't you do this connecting to server BS after you get into the menu and choose your network? Then we're at the main menu. It's clear by artistic design that Strive is aiming to have a cleaner presentation than its predecessor. Exard in its menus was a little industrial. Grime was present on the metal with the menu's futuristic elements just faintly in front of you. The character select was a jumble of faces and some hardcore cube thing, and the chains moving once you were loading the stages and sealed you and your opponent into battle. And this stayed consistent in the series until now. Now you have a more royal ruin sort of aesthetic, or just clean. The background is now shards and shapes, and the modes and sub-modes have clean text and highlights highlighted clearly. It's all very clean and organized this time around, which arguably gives Strive a little less personality. Music here too seems a little more royal and warlike, not the welcome to the club, what can I get you type feel that Django had. What we have here for modes: 1 player, we have arcade, versus and survival, kind of standard stuff. 2 players just versus, and dojo is the tutorial, training and mission mode. One player is pretty self-explanatory. Arcade mode has you fight against a series of opponents, there's some interaction in between them. Survival is exactly what it sounds like, and versus is versus. Training though, I need to get this off my chest. Why does the entire intro and fight need to be restarted every time I merely change background music? Like, can't you do it in game? The tutorial is it over already? It's not nearly as good as Exard. Exard has a fantastic tutorial. It's long, but it got the player into the complexities of this new type of fighting game, adjusting to whatever that shit is. Jumping attacks, having our queen Jack O be the teacher, how to perform basic combos, it was great. Got into the rhythm much easier, and Strive, being the more friendly game for newcomers, threw all of this out of the window because, and I quote, to show the player that they can enjoy fighting games without having to study. We intentionally left out explanations of game mechanics and different uses for each attack button. It's the tutorial. They're literally here to study. I mean, this seems a little mixed. Some people like it, some people don't. I personally don't. I think it can do with much more explanation. Whatever. For mission mode is here to return the leftovers. That was tutorial mode. Mission mode is a series of missions that attempt to teach game mechanics and fighting mechanics to the player by repeating the moves over and over and over until you get it right over and over and over. It's very useful and quite fleshed out feature of the game. This does make me remember something though. Combo mode would have been really good here. I mean, combo mode is always just a good idea. That trains you combos for specific characters that further defines what the hell they do. I mean, and it kind of sucks that it didn't make it in. It can make people find out which character really speaks to them, especially with the cut roster with only 15 characters. Sizable, but not the biggest this series has been. Well, speaking of characters, I think it's time we go over the roster and see how it looks. It's smaller than last time, embracing the clean look, which I'm not really that much on board with, but what can we do? In this roster we have Sol, the all-rounder, all reliable. He's powerful, he's a safe bet, but I think he's too much of a safe bet because he seems a lot less balanced than the others. I tried him, he's kind of overpowered. Kai, some projectile and more anti-air attacks, he's another safe bet and he's actually balanced. I actually really like Kai here. He's pretty damn good. Mei, she's pretty strong. Lots of Tatsugeki, loudest and most annoying, will never shut up until jam gets added. Getting Mr. Dolphin in combos after learning how it works makes Mei just sublime. And also, that other thing about Mei. Zato 1. I haven't seen many people use Zato, so I guess he's a little bit of an acquired taste. I don't really know how he plays, and there's clearly more people more qualified to talk about Zato more than me. Ino, for somebody who had a surprising amount of moves cut, I didn't really think she'd be all that, but surprisingly, she's quite annoying to play against. Then again, I haven't seen many people play as Ino. There's also the fact that I want her to kick me down, bash Marlene over my head, and tell me. Giovanna, she's a new face in the series, and I like her get over here and never get out of your face rushdown style, but not really many moves beyond that, and her Spirit Dog is purely cosmetic, which is a very big missed opportunity. Ramlethal Valentine. Now, Ram plays much better in Strive in my honest to god opinion. I really like her here, and I want her hat. Some attacks can be a little overpowered. Her overhead slash attack, Jesus, the reach is incredible. But I really like her here. Potemkin. Axel. Faust. Now this is a bit of a radical redesign. I like it. But I mean, he's as Faust is gonna get, quirky overdrive animation and all. In respect to some Faust players, I have no idea how to play as him. Again, a unique and a bit of an acquired taste for Faust. Leo Whitefang. Honestly, I think Leo's a little underrated. I haven't played as him for long, but I really like his stance mechanic and how he can just go hog wild on some combos. Not many people play as him for some reason. In fact, I don't think I've seen more than 2 people in my whole online experience playing as Leo. Kinda want that to change, not gonna lie. Anji Mito. I haven't played much as Anji, and I've heard good things about him from my friends, but I guess he has a bit of a counter overdrive like Baiken and stuff. But I don't know about him. I'll need to play as him a little bit more. Nagori Yuki, now look at this absolute Chad. He almost does Potemkin level damage, therefore I want to stay away from him, but he's so fucking cool though. A vampire samurai? Like, that is really, really cool, and he's so honorable. Not Baiken cool, but he's still really goddamn cool. Melia Rage. Oh, Melia, my beloved. my beloved Melia main. He's pretty air focused and has enough for me to get into a speedy nature despite Strive's restricted air movement, but I mean, she's my main, man. Chip Zaneth, local best redemption arc character, is back for Strive, but he isn't that good as before. But my ADHD induced self loves going wild with his speed and Beta Blade, Alpha Blade, Gamma Blade. It's really damn fun. And his squirrel is really cute. Overall, it's alright. It's usually the college essentials, everything you'd want and everything you'd need, but you're just wishing for just a little bit more. And for that, we can only look up to the future for what that has in stock. Oh, god damn it. Well, let's get into the game. This is a downgrade. Well, pros. The cool only ice thing is quite nice, outlining your opponent. Cons, not as cool as last time. What does an eagle have to do with Guilty Gear? And I have a bit of a graphics glitch, and the portraits are off a bit. It looks like artifacting, but as far as I know, this is not an issue exclusive to me. So we get into this stage, and instead of the characters just, you know, starting off with their own thing, showing themselves off, it starts with an overhead shot of the stage, spewing this mankind cannot change society monologue thing, and it gets old really fast, and also
Introductions.
ends up being unnecessarily long. Ino's and Axel's introductions, especially since they kind of mess with time, is probably the worst case of this, because it's long for no reason, especially Ino's. Anyways, we are nitpicking. Just focusing on the in-game visuals, like, look at this. It's basically a new high for fighting games, and just anime style games in general. If every turn-based pixel RPG followed the same art style as Octopath after that game came out, I'd like the same to happen with this game's visuals for other games like this going forward. The effects, the flares, the character models are wonderfully detailed, the stages are also detailed, the camera angles are exactly where you need them to be. It's a new high, it's a new benchmark. Arc System Works has once again pushed the genre for fighting game visuals. Right, so the gameplay. This is hard for me to talk about because there's probably a lot of things I don't know with this game's gameplay, but I think I know enough. I've had a good few hours with it, and well, I mean, I like it. I don't know what this means, and I'm too scared to fully indulge. And actual criticisms should be left to people who know what they're talking about. But as this is a casual review, my casual review, the beginner's experience, playing Guilty Gear from the start, of course it was going to be like this. Well, let's start with the changes. Everyone's moveset has been sliced a little bit. It's not nearly as feature-rich in moves as previous games, and as such limits what you're able to do in terms of combos. This was a bit of a bummer for me. Doing the cardinal sin of not including the samurai lady was one thing, but this made me wonder how her moveset was going to be butchered when she eventually does get in. Right, Oxus? Don't want her grappler abilities taken away. So yeah, it's kind of bad that I can't do things I could do previously anymore. Instead, Strive tries to make you more grounded, avoiding such advanced air combos that the last game actually enforced, which sucks for me since I'm a Melia player. In fact, Strive restricted its air movement in its second beta, which also mega sucks monkey nuts. Like, look at Mei! What? But all in all, it still feels good. No, it feels great. All characters are different in their playstyle, requiring different approaches to fight. It's satisfying landing hits, combos, counters, dust, and it looks visually remarkable while you're doing it. Like, all staples of mechanical fighters are here, and especially for Guilty Gear. The punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, sweep, dusts, and everything else. Psych bursts are back, of course they are, helping you get out of toughies. Roman cancels, they've been improved. And I don't know how they've been improved, but they feel a lot better to do. Before in Exod, I did not give a shit about doing Roman cancels. I know they're important, but I just could not wrap my head around doing them. It was just didn't click with me. Strive makes Roman cancels a lot better to do. Lots of people who are much more informative and better at explaining this stuff than I am have said that the Roman cancel system has been revamped, and I didn't use them, but I can tell they were revamped because they are much more useful, much more practical to do. Red Roman cancels initiated after an attack, which give you a little bit of a burst and then burst the enemy a bit away, and it lets you get more control on how to absolutely whoop their ass. There's a little timer telling you how long you have left until the Roman cancel effect goes down. There's the dash input Roman cancel, and that's it, I don't remember the rest. So in terms of what Strive added, oh yeah, the wall break. The wall break was a genius mechanic conceptually, and it still is pretty cool in practice. This is something that some pros would probably take issue with. It's going to cut lots of their long air combos pretty short, but that's what Arxis wants. Arxis' philosophy for Strive is to de-emphasize the long, stupid juggling air combos and to emphasize more on just the single hits, the grabs, or just a short combo, which in this game does more damage than a long, stupid ass combo, which I'll get to in a bit. Emphasize this philosophy to cut your combos short and have the person who's getting absolutely whooped a little bit more breathing room. However, this doesn't mean that it's fully in favor of the losing player. I mean, come on, like, what's stopping you from just not committing the wall break? The winning player will receive a gradual increase in their tension gauge over the duration of the match. This is actually kinda cool and a big motivation to use the wall break, so you can use your overdrives more quickly and absolutely destroy your opponent. Well, this mechanic did appease to the sort of casual people who didn't like getting cornered. At least it adheres to Guilty Gear's core design, getting close to the opponent to build that tension gauge, hitting the opponent to build that tension gauge. It works, and it is pretty cool when people actually want to do it, and people who don't do it, you're on a list. Just know that, you know? Bit of a small addition, but a dedicated sprint button. That is really nice. I'm a joystick user, hang me. Sprinting in these kind of games scare me a little bit. I get the accidental curse of jumping instead of dashing when under pressure, so having this as a surefire easy to access sprint is really useful. It's usually mapped to the joystick, I think by default. Maybe added in to get these more casual people in who usually play Call of Duty or some shit. I recommend changing it to the trigger button though. That is much better. A thing that not many people seem to be talking about in its design is the emphasis on slow motion when you counter or dust, or maybe just, you know, just be really cool. Strive really likes to emphasize these moves, and I mean, I can't really blame them. Like, you just got the upper hand on your opponent, might as well show it off to them, right? But there is a little bit of a design choice here, which is for accessibility purposes, and I can kind of respect it. See, in Exard, when you were countered and you got stuck in a combo, you could just blink and then you'd have nothing you'd be able to do. You'd be juggled, and without a sight burst, well, good luck, my boy, good luck. But in Strive, when the counter slows everything down, you can do one of two things, and this is just for the newcomers out there. One, realize how absolutely screwed you are. Two, figure out, what can I do in this moment? Maybe just try and just do a little sight burst, or at least something, just giving the newcomers a little bit of breathing room to just figure out, how am I going to get out of this? I think it's actually pretty cool. It has helped me on a number of predicaments, i.e. Potemkin. So this is actually pretty cool, and it just looks cool in general. The same kind of happens for Dust, but Dust has always had that sort of cinematic moment where you get hit, or you hit somebody with Dust, but Dust in general has kind of received a bit of a revamp, of which I like, and I also don't like, really. So beforehand, when you press Dust in a direction, either up or forwards, you would either go up, initiating an air combo, or just going forwards, just following them and trying to initiate a bigger combo while they're trying to get up. In Strive, pointing a direction and pressing Dust would initiate a grab, and not a character specific grab like Soul's throw or something, just a throw, or just a grab, and anyone can do it now, which is interesting. So it's either back or forwards, and that's pretty cool. And to initiate the traditional Dust, you need to not be blocking and not be pressing a direction, and just hope for the best, really. It's quite a bit more risky this time around. Like, you can't just normally do Dust, you're vulnerable and stuff. But when you initiate Dust, this is when the magic of Strive happens for me, alright? Initiating a Dust successfully will launch both of you into the air where the background of the stage flies behind you and you're free to do an air combo, usually just 2 buttons, and if which you nail it, it sends a downward attack sending your opponent flying into the ground almost 6 feet under with a smash. Holy shit! Very rarely do anime technical fighters make my jaw drop more than Guilty Gear, and this new mechanic is absolutely no exception. Wow. It's not just a rush to play, and also a rush to witness too. It can be absolutely exhilarating pulling off these insane moves that would only fly in over-the-top anime battles, not in a technical fighter where there's war and other war where the boundaries are already established. It's a really cool move, but I do kind of miss the last kind of Dust. It was much more flexible and you could use it in more situations. Dust being a much bigger risk in Strive is really cool, but also I do kind of like this edition. You lose some, you gain some kind of thing. The last one I have to say is the damage. The damage. The damage in Strife has been massively increased from Exard. It emphasizes the short combo objective Arxis are going to, where they want more short combos or just single hits, single throws. It's much easier than leaping into the air and making a bunch of jumping attacks to make a lot more damage. But this? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck's wrong with this game? Like, again, I know it speaks to Strife's philosophy, and I know what they were going for, but does this seem balanced? Due to this increased damage, it's entirely possible for battles to just end quite quickly. Songs are getting onto their chorus when you just deliver the final blow. Speaking of music though, so for some reason, Arxis didn't bring the Ultimate Edition to Steam. It was only exclusive to PlayStation, which would have included the artwork, the soundtrack, and a bunch of extra colors, which is a bit of a mega ass move because the soundtrack in this game, holy shit. Guilty Gear has prided itself on delivering a booming, high-octane soundtrack, and look, they said it, not me, and it's been relatively consistent over the series. So many tracks from older games were brought back for Strive in the form of unlockables and the Versus loading screen, which was lifted from Exard. The music, composed by series director and composer Daisuke Ichiwatari, has some references and inspirations to some other bands that he actually listens to. And returning to fuel all these tracks is vocalist Naoki from Japanese thrash band Outrage, giving his impactful loudness to bring these battles to life with these vocals and music. Like, most of the time, he hits it out of the park for this. Guilty Gear game and music without these two, it's kind of cardinal sin at that point. As for this game's work, Naoki practically makes magic out of Ichiwatari's work here. It is really pushing and powerful. We got a taste of this back in 2019 when the trailer first dropped, and we got Smell of the Game, the game's main theme. And it was a great theme. It caught on very quickly with a lot of people, and it was just really good. Now, as for everything else for music in this game, wow, it's all really good. Naoki has probably given his best performance when it comes to Guilty Gear. A bit of the vocals are a lot more clear than last time with all the English and stuff. I'd list some standouts, but they're all really damn good. It took some time getting used to some of them, but when it comes down to it, lots of the characters get really good tracks here. There is one thing which is causing some differing opinions about Strive's soundtrack, but I'll get to that. Let's just go through the character themes because those are the real standouts here. To start, we have Soul's Find Your One Way. This is a great, heavy, steady, stomping track with a really nice tempo, and it just keeps pumping shit as it goes along. I think this is a great one. And I don't even play Soul. Kai's Roar of the Spark. Now, I have a little bit of a thing with this. When I first listened to it, I did not think it would be, I thought it'd be good. It's Kai's theme, he's like the secondary protagonist in Guilty Gear, but I thought it would just be fine, it would be Kai's theme. No. Like, it goes from, oh goddamn, to, oh wow, this is really good, to holy shit, this is amazing in the first minute and a half. Under the same empires, never stop, just go. I don't care how many more. It is a fantastic track. It's very fast, it feels righteous to listen to, and has a very hack and slash feel at the chorus. It's such a banger. It's absolutely just unbelievable for Kai. Axel's Out of the Box. It is a bit of a slower track, but I like it. It's not my first pick though. I haven't really gotten into it. Might need to listen to it a little bit more. Chip Zander's Play the Hero. Okay, this track, similar to Kai's, is also stupidly hype. It incorporates Chip's unrelenting speed and his badass and likable personality. Potemkin's Armor-Clad Faith. Yeah, this seems to fit Potemkin. This is a Potemkin song. Lots of older Guilty Gear fans seem to put this as their favourite up top there, and it's the most heaviest. Faust's Alone Infection. This is a really quirky rock track, having its hard rock theme as its chorus and some quiet verses which kind of tread the line between sneaky and happy, but kind of fucking cuckoo. But yeah, this is kind of in line with Faust's redesign, and I actually really like this track. It goes really damn hard. Zato 1's Let Me Carve Your Way. This one's a little polarizing. You either love it or you hate it, and I can kind of understand the polarization for this track. It's genuinely just all over the place, like there's not really much of a focus. Then again, some people think that is actually a good thing that it's unfocused. I do really like the chorus. It gets very uplifting and heavily uplifting, but it gets all over the place a lot of the time. It doesn't mean it's bad though. I still really like it. Leo's Hellfire, another rapid track with a touch of kingship and righteousness at the start, and I love that. The start is really damn good, and it just gets into that monkey business that Leo's all about. And this happens for a lot of the tracks in the soundtrack. It tells a pretty depressing story, or at least a story about the character, and I really like that. Leo, as is portrayed in the song, damn. It does eventually go to that monkey relentlessness, and I really like it. Especially the solo monologue. Nagoriyuki's What Do You Fight For? Now this is what I call a fucking track, mate. Like, it's heavy and it's steady and it just punches so hard at the chorus. It's so good. Honestly, a perfect track for Nagoriyuki, and the lyrics, oh, the lyrics, Jesus Christ. So honourable, man. Giovanna's Trigger, this is a very unique song. It slows down the pace a little bit from the other songs. Instead of going hog monkey wild and hard, it kind of slows it down. It just sounds like Naoki just flinging his voice around and stuff, and it's very unique. One of the more unique songs, and a really good song for Giovanna. It's very smug and smooth as a standout track. Anji Mito's Rock Parade. Gets a little bit more curious, and then it just goes into just Ino's Requiem. Now this sounds pretty antagonistic, makes Ino out to be a bit of a boss kind of character, and it does fit the description, so I have to listen to it a bit more. If only there were more people playing Ino online. But it is pretty good. So overall, Naoki and Daisuke once again did what everybody wanted. They gave him another Guilty Gear soundtrack. But, and I mean but, we have a newcomer, something that to my knowledge Guilty Gear hasn't done fully up to this point. I may be wrong, looking it up has no results whatsoever, and in my opinion, it's one of the most surprising aspects of this game's soundtrack. Japanese R&B vocalist Aisha, and haven't heard of her work before this, had a lot to prove when doing character themes for Strive. Usually it's just Naoki doing the vocals, and that is already a huge undertaking to even just match or even just come close to. And bringing the heavy, loud and bombastic fighting rhythm to more characters, making more headbangers for players to fight to without Naoki's involvement, this was a bit of a gamble. So what was procured in this new step towards a new soundtrack for this game? What could absolutely knock it out of the park for Guilty Gear Strive? Aisha was tasked with doing 3 songs for Strive. One for Totsugeki, one for Melia, and one for Ramlethal. Now, to start with what we just listened to, this song is so far out of left field for the series, and everyone saying it's not Guilty Gear is right. It really is not Guilty Gear. This song is so good! It isn't the hardcore I do whatever the hell I want stuff kind of style that Naoki does, but oh my god. This song is so jovial, it's so happy, it's so May. Like, I love this song, it's so infectious. Now, Love the Subhuman Self, Melia's theme, was a surprise for me. Even as a Melia main, I was not really expecting her to be all that, really. Exard was good, but not damn, turn that shit up good. Like most of the other themes that in Strive were. So, I wasn't really caring when it came on during the preview. This is my favourite song on the soundtrack. It goes so much harder than it has any right to. It is so much more heavily rhythmic than I thought it would be. My game theory for this song is that probably during Blaze Blue getting developed, Ishiwatari saw the Ruby songs that they were being given and said, You know what, yeah, I think I could do that, because this song is very, very reminiscent of Jeff Williams' compositional and Casey Lee Williams' vocal work on Ruby Volume themes. It really reminds me of stuff like Time to Say Goodbye, and that's all that comes up in my head when I listen to it, and it isn't a bad thing. It sounds much heavier, and it's great. Also, we have a bit of a mystery vocalist doing the death metal part of this song. Jameson Boaz, I think? He's not credited on anywhere else on the soundtrack, so this might be, I think this is the only one he's in. Interesting. But yeah, Melia's track, just complete banger. Now finally, Necessary Discrepancy for Ramlethal. It's a bit of a unique one. It features both Naoki and Aisha, and it's, in my opinion, not the best in the game, but that just means it's an 8 out of 10. It has a sort of wondrous sort of exploration jungle style at the beginning, and then it just keeps going into that Guilty Gear rock hard kind of thing that we're all used to at this point. Aisha's heavenly lyrics contrasted with Naoki's more heavy, outgoing voice along with it is really, it works. It really does work. It's a nice contrast and mix-up. It is a little bit leaning to the experimental side of Guilty Gear, and that's something that can be said for most of the soundtrack. Let's finish off, Necessary Discrepancy. It's pretty good. But yeah, this is what Strive seems to be going for with this music. It's a bit less consistent. Like, Smell of the Game is a complete roller coaster. And like, tracks like Zato's have been a little polarizing, while people saying Potemkin's is more traditional to Guilty Gear, and I can't blame them. But there are also a lot of people saying that this new, bit more open kind of angle to Guilty Gear music are also liking it. Like Zato's theme, you either love or hate that track. Like, go to a tier list. You still have the tracks that just go absolutely wild and hard, and that's what we're here for. But it also goes into some interesting new territories, but does not stray away from what made it good. Where do we begin with online? Well, for once, this game has rollback netcode at launch. What does rollback netcode mean? I don't know, and 90% of people who use them probably don't know either. But essentially, your fighting game experience online with other players is going to be as sublime as can be. Like, seriously, moving from any Arxis game before Strive's online, the difference is night and day. It is huge that it's this smooth. Kind of, because the lobbies were awful in the betas and they have not been improved here. Aside from players teleporting and lots of random delay in the characters and starting matches, I just want to ask, from the artistic level, what was wrong with this? Like, fuck me, all this. They're chibis. Why cheap out and make this inferior experience like it's a low budget indie game? Look at Melia's hat, it's a square. Anyways, the lobby system has a few structures ready for players to jump into. Tower, which is basically Strive's ranked mode. Park, a casual space for anyone to play with anyone for however long they see fit. And Player Match, which are private lobbies for friends or to search games with specific rules and requirements. And Standby and Training mode, it's basically ranked, but instead of having to wait for the lobby system to lag a player to your booth, in other words, you might as well stay in this mode. As soon as you get into online, after the actually reasonable place to put a connection to server prompt, you're tasked to defeat a bot playing as a sole bad guy to determine your level. I was put on level 7 or something and proceeded to get absolutely slammed on. I think over time I went back to level 7 and I'm pretty scared about the people who are whooping my ass there, but the rank system works pretty well. It knows when to move you up, move you down. I mean, it fully understands, alright mate, it's time to go, you're not going to survive here, and then it just moves you down or up. And it's pretty damn good. However, the lobbies themselves, and I mean in anything, park, and tower, player matches are a bit less problematic, but in public spaces, these are awful. During your time in Guilty Gear Strive's lobbies, you'll see players teleporting around, players floating around, players unable to join you unable to join players, matches not starting, matches being cancelled for no reason. Best to just go standby and training mode like I said, and it's a shame because when you actually get down to a match, it's flawless, it is sublime. As it should be. It's absolutely great, the fighting, and I wish it was just that level of goodness in the lobby system as well. Now, what can you do in these lobbies? Well, you can fight people, you can go fishing, you can talk to people privately, and I guess we just got the scrubs here really. We have fishing. Fishing's been a part of Guilty Gear for some time, as far as I know. And it's a mode where with in-game currency you can fish for unlockable items to enhance your Guilty Gear experience, which in this game just means 90% cosmetics for your characters and 10% shit you actually care about. Again, the pixel style just makes this look lifeless. The cosmetics would only be impactful if it didn't look like they were from a 2600 Atari game. Like most people, the only reason I'm fishing is to get music, mainly from old Guilty Gear games, to use in battle, and that's actually really damn good. You even get to listen to them in the gallery, along with the game's soundtrack. No, that's a lie. No, that is a very big lie. You cannot listen to this game's soundtrack inside this game. If only. You get music, Strive trailers, movies, concept art. All this stuff is really cool. I really like going into the background development history of some games like this. There's two things left majorly to discuss really. One of them is GG World. It's a very useful tool that tells us what the fuck this game's lore is and who's related to who, how it matters. A really useful thing. I'd rather watch a lore video, especially this guy's, but this is very clean and clear for people who are just getting into the series. Last and definitely least, story mode. I mean, now look, the story itself I won't comment on. I'm sure as an anime it's alright and serves its purpose at progressing the lore of Guilty Gear, and in that sense it serves its purpose well. But this is the third Guilty Gear game in a row where once again the story mode is quite literally unplayable and just a movie included with the game. Oh man, Arx is so consumer friendly, bundling an entire video game with their anime, how considerate. No. The industry has far moved past this. I'm gonna say it like it is, it's lazy. It's very lazy and a very poor excuse for a campaign. I'm sure the animators and artists poured their souls into this because Guilty Gear, out of all other games in this genre, maybe aside from Mortal Kombat, have the potential to seamlessly integrate cinematics into gameplay in a manner that would be incredibly smooth. Mate, look at this Giovanna and Nagoriyuki fight. This could literally be a player-controlled fight. Go back into the movie part and continue seamlessly. Why isn't it? I could be asking, why am I playing this? But traditionally, the story mode has just been Arc System Works animators and artists flexing their cel shading and animation techniques to deliver one of the most seamless anime fighters and anime style visuals in the entire industry, and it was understandable the first go around in that context. Now it's just kinda lazy. Well, that's Guilty Gear Strive. Honestly, I feel like for the money it charged, it's a little lighter on content than I'd hoped. I mean, at least single player wise. The network can be a little hit and miss. Some modes are missing, certain character and design changes, unnecessarily long load times, and a style change I'm not really understanding for the network lobbies. Come on Arxis, did you really think this was a good idea? But these are really in the shadow of Strive's stronger aspects of clean top tier visuals, really rocking soundtrack, a retained high skill ceiling, better accessibility features for newcomers like mission mode, fantastic online stability, thankfully quickly approaching post-launch content. And as divisive as these changes probably can be and will be, I mean, it seems to be working out. 300k units in the first week, for Guilty Gear no less, is really big. And I, even a casual, can't be happy that this series is being noticed by more people because it is a really good series. Some friends of mine who absolutely run to the hills when some of my other friends recommend a fighting game to play with them are now picking up Strive to play with us. Now this game's longevity, even with post-launch content, is a little bit more into question, and it's more got to do with who's playing Strive. A lot of us have seen this come up again and again. A series that was considered niche or for a specific community or for a hardcore being exposed to casuals is a very scary thing. And it is up to Arxis to try and balance out what the hardcore want and what the more casual players want from Guilty Gear Strive. So I hope that they do a good job in that area. I mean, until the new BlazBlue comes out, this is going to be the game that Arxis is going to be working on for the next few years. Because it's obvious that Arxis and Team Red have put their passionate and talented minds to this new game, and it really does show. Best not to let it go to waste, and if the bigger issues that I mentioned get fixed, this will go on to be one of the best fighting experiences this year, and the best that Arxis has made. I'll give Guilty Gear Strive Ramlethal Foot out of 10. This is literally just all I have for this video. If you want to just correct me on a few things, just feel free. Just at this point, just get out. Just get out. Just get the fuck out.